Happy you are all here. I'm so excited to start this series, this Let's Talk Wellness series. My name is Stacy Bessinen, and I am a community wellness coordinator, and my home base is at Buffalo Hospital here in Minnesota. However, I do a lot of different programming for the whole Allina Health system. And our Let's Talk Wellness is a program that we started several years ago, and we have over 60 lessons in this program. And so basically what community members, business committees will do is they will pick about 6 sessions out of those different types of topics, and then we'll come in and we'll do presentations on them. And so what we've done is we're partnering with Change to Chill to offer this series. And so today we'll be talking about managing stress. And so as we're going through, what I'm going to be doing is a few different things. So the first one is just we're going to talk about stress, what it is, how it affects your mind, body, and spirit, and kind of really delve into that so that we can get a little bit of awareness of how it affects you and what it means to you. And then we will be practicing just a couple of stress management techniques. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. We will have time when we're all done here for question and answers. And then after we're all done, I'll invite you, if you have the time, to go through kind of an extended version of a relaxation technique on our breath awareness. And so as we get started here, what I want you to do is just take a couple of deep breaths. Just really get that breath all the way down to your belly and exhale fully. One more deep breath in. And then exhale fully. Good. And just notice how you're feeling in this moment. Are you feeling stressed right now? And we're hearing that a lot right now on just the stress levels are rising with everything that's going on, not only in politics, but with the pandemic and distance learning and so many different changes. And so awareness really is key. We're going to focus on that awareness, not only in the moment, present time, and then also what you can do about what's going on within you and around you. And the most important thing is to know is stress is a normal response. You're not alone. Everyone in the world has a stress response, and it's actually a really good thing. So if we're looking at the stress response, and the relaxation response here, the stress response comes from the primitive part of our brain. We need that part of our brain, and we need to be able to respond for survival when it relates to that acute stress. I know it's snowing here, and that's one of my pet peeves is driving in the winter, and it's kind of a scary thing because my stress response definitely gets triggered when I drive, like when when I start drifting, or when I feel like I'm not in control of my car at that moment. And so, you can see some of that stress response. My cortisol level increases to allow me to react to survival, so to stay on the road. And so that's very important. So we want to look at the positive side of that survival skill that our body has, that it's part of our sympathetic nervous system. We don't even have to tell our body what to do at that point to keep us alive. Our body automatically does it. So there's a lot of good that happens with that. We just don't want that stress response to be activated all the time, especially when we're not in a survival situation. So we'll kind of talk about, what happens when that stress response occurs when we're okay. We're okay survival like, but maybe a thought comes into our mind and we're feeling the stress response happen. So we'll kind of talk about that. And then on the flip side, what we want to do is we want to, when we do become in that stress response, and when we have that, how can we get into that relaxation response as quickly as we can, where we're feeling good, we can take a deep breath, and we can respond to that stressor in a better way. So just know stress is a very normal reaction to things that are happening around us. So let's start by kind of delving into that a little bit. What is stress? So we have some positive stress, and positive stress, that eustress, is a normal part of our everyday life. We would not get out of bed if we didn't have that positive stress, if we didn't have that stress. That positive stress can be very motivating. It increases our activity, gets us out of bed and our productivity. It helps us to do a good job and live out our passion and our purpose in life. And so a little bit of stress is a good thing. And then we want to flip to that negative stress or that distress. And oftentimes we'll say, I'm stressed out. And that can be a negative stress for us. And the negative stress can have serious effects on our health. And we'll kind of delve into that a little bit. It can demotivate us. It increases the tension in our body. And so oftentimes when this happens, we can obviously, feel it, and we have the kind of those symptoms that happen physiologically and mentally and emotionally, and it can be really hard. And most of the time we have this low level of negative stress, and it may be constantly present in our lives, especially when there's a lot going on and a lot that we can't control. So we just want to take that awareness and say, okay, what are the positive stressors in my life? What is going really, really well? And what are those negative stressors in my life? And kind of, if you want, you can like make a list or just reflect on those types of things. What is going on right now? And then we want to talk about that acute versus chronic stress. Remember when I talked about that survival response that happens with our stress response? So oftentimes hopefully that survival, when that survival response happens, it's that quick acute, something happens, our body needs to react, and then that stressor is over, and then we can, do what we need to do to get back into that relaxation response. So that tends to be acute. So that acute stress is temporary. It can be very beneficial and create motivation, oftentimes beneficial because it's the survival, and create motivation. Sometimes if you have like a deadline and you kind of waited a little bit until the last moment, that stress can kind of help you finish what you need to do. Some of the physical symptoms of acute stress include these things. So, sometimes you can get a sudden headache or start sweating. Your heart can start really beating fast, dizziness, chest pain. So all of those are just some of those physical symptoms. And then on the flip side, we have that chronic stress, which is long-term. You're really feeling that stressor all the time. So a chronic stress tends to come from an unresolved issue. So an ongoing conflict, ongoing workload, or a lot of pressure, or a negative situation going on in your life. And so I highlighted or bolded unresolved. And so the reason why I put the unresolved bolded that is because we really want to look at where is our empowerment in our own stressors and what we get stressed about. How can we resolve these things? What does that mean to us? Where is that awareness? And so we'll talk about ways to kind of figure that out and hopefully resolve them. And some of the physical effects of chronic stress really relate to some of our chronic conditions that we see. So heart disease, hypertension, like high blood pressure, stomach issues or ulcers, chronic fatigue, and the list can go further. So when we're looking at these physical effects, we know that cortisol that gets released when we're in that fight or flight, that's very inflammatory. And any chronic condition such as those that are listed here, usually start with inflammation. So we're thinking of how can we decrease the inflammation in our body? So we need to go to the flip side and look at how can we decrease stress and those effects from stressors. So just listed some other stress effects here. Stress does cause other problems. So we'll often see upset stomach as as a major one. We do have receptors, stress receptors in our stomach, and so when we're stressed, our stomach can get very upset. But there's several more here. Oftentimes I'll hear that people have change in sleep habits and sleep problems. So just kind of looking at what that means. So what that means to us, if it just comes back to that awareness again. You know, if you've been a really good sleeper and all of a sudden you have insomnia or can't sleep at all, or it takes you a long time to sleep, are you stressed? So you know, bringing yourself back to that awareness point. Okay, so if you were able to grab a piece of paper before we started, or if you do have one available to you, if you want to get one, here's your chance. I'm going to be asking you a couple of different questions, and if you just want to jot down yes or a Y or a no or an N, and see how many Y's you get, how many N's you get, and then the more Y's you get, you're probably pretty stressed for these questions. If you get a lot of no's, then that would be a good indicator that maybe you're not too stressed. Maybe things are going pretty well. So here are some questions. Do you feel cranky and unable to deal with even small problems that arise when you used to be able to, not sweat the small stuff, but lately you're really unable to deal with them? You just put a yes or a no. Another one is, do you feel frustrated or lose your temper more often? Are you yelling at others for no reason? So those can definitely be 3 different yeses or nos. If you'd like to kind of separate those out, feel free to. Just kind of take a second and reflect on that. Are you feeling more frustrated than normal? Lose your temper more often? Or are you kind of just yelling for no reason? The next question is, you feel jumpy? Do you feel jumpy all the time or tired all the time? Your normal day that you can kind of get through, are you feeling more like you're having a harder time getting through your day? You're so fatigued, you're more tired, your sleep has changed, so you're more tired. The next question is, you find it hard to focus on tasks. It's hard for you to concentrate, focus on that task to get it done. You have a lot of other things going on in your mind. So kind of reflect on that. Are you finding it hard to focus on tasks? Okay. The next one is you're worrying too much about small things that you never even used to worry about. You're just overthinking things and worried about them and thinking things are going to go wrong. That's another one. The next one is, you feel you're missing out on things because you can't act quickly enough. So this is often can be a common one. So you feel like you're missing out. You aren't able to keep up with your schedule, and you forgot about an event that happened, or an important meeting, or a phone call that you were going to make to a friend or something, and you're not able to kind of stay up on your schedule. And the last one is, imagine that bad things are happening or about to happen. So this can kind of be a change in, I never used to feel this way, but now, I'm just imagining something bad is going to happen. There's a lot going on in our world right now. And I'm hearing this a lot more and more from wellness coaches that, it's hard to just be in the moment when there's just so much going on in our time. So kind of thinking and relating to that, if you'd like to put it in the chat, go ahead and we'll kind of review them later, but kind of go back and count. How many Y's did you have? How many N's did you have? If you had more Y's, if you had more yeses than no's, then maybe you are pretty stressed. So this isn't something that is like, oh, I'm so stressed. I'm going to give up, or there's nothing I can do about it. It's, oh, I'm stressed now. Now I kind of have a good baseline to say, okay, what can I do? What can I do to make things better? And that's what we'll talk about. All right, so The ultimate goal is once you know your stress, once you have that awareness and is to really focus on you, is really to kind of figure out what is going on. What are your stressors? It's good to just write a list, like I mentioned before. Are they work related? Are they personal relationship issues, financial concerns? Do you have a lot of distractions going on, a lot of stuff going on in your life right now, a lot of responsibilities? What are those stressors? Feel free to get those down on paper. We know that pen to paper is so very powerful for our mind. It allows you to, once you get everything down that's in your mind on paper, it allows your brain to just take a break. So getting all those stressors down is the ultimate goal. Get them. So what are your stressors? And then kind of just notice and jot down, make a little A or a C by them. Which stressors are acute? Like just come on suddenly. Which ones are chronic that you've had for a longer time than just a few days? So this is just a really good way to bring that awareness into yourself so that you're able to kind of take that next step to say, okay, what can I do? What can I do about these stressors? And feel like you have some empowerment. Okay, so you don't have to, this definitely will take longer than a couple of minutes. So you don't have to, feel bad if you're not done with your list. It's an ongoing thing that you can do. So your reaction to stress is so very important. Stress is never going away. And our empowerment is in our response to stress. So have you ever heard somebody say, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed about this? And you're like, well, that's not a big deal. And so that just tells you that there are many different reasons to be stressed, and what stresses you out might not stress out another, and vice versa. And so that's okay. That's okay. But what we really want to look at is your response to stress in that space. So between the stressor or the stimulus and your response, there is a space. There's kind of a tiny bit of space there. And in that space really is our power. And that's our power to choose our response. And so when we are able to choose our response, we can really grow and then really be free from that ongoing stressor. So let's kind of think about it this way. We have a 2 arrows theory. And what that is that first arrow, like let's say something really stressful just happened. And that stress is painful, right? You get kind of that shot of that first arrow. It can, it's painful. It can happen. So you can be kind of embarrassed or start to talk negatively about yourself, like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? Or why did that happen? And then you kind of bring that with you, so you have a hard time sleeping. Your mind is just ruminating about it, and you're just frustrated, and you don't know what to do, and you want to make it better, and it just kind of keeps going on and on. So you have that stressor and the pain from that first arrow, but then that other arrow comes in and causes a lot of pain, the one where you start blaming yourself or calling yourself names or ruminating about it, and you can't sleep. That second arrow can actually cause more pain than that first arrow. So it's really good to be able to separate those two, to say, okay, the stressor was this, and that was really hard, but the way I reacted to it is really hard too. So I'm ruminating, and I'm calling myself stupid, and I'm, so that's just a really good awareness to how much pain are you causing yourself due to that pain from that second arrow. So the ultimate goal is don't shoot that second arrow, and that can be really hard. So in a moment, I'm going to give you an awareness exercise that you can do in this moment to not shoot that second arrow, but to offer yourself some self-care and some self-compassion. Okay, so let's do that right now. So what I want you to do, get into a very comfortable position. And I want you to think of a time, or if you're currently stressed, or a time that you were, really stressed, and just kind of feel that in your body, and just kind of relive that moment. Or if you're currently stressed, kind of just take that in right now. And the first thing I wanted you to do is I want you to acknowledge that stress. And the one thing that we can do is just say it. Oftentimes what we'll do is, we're stressed and we have so much to do. We just go, 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 and not even realize that we haven't dealt with anything until we can't get out of bed because we're so tight and sore and we have a headache and we're just not feeling well. So if we can just pause for a moment and say what you are. So I am. The I am statement is so, so very powerful. It says, and this one is, if you're really stressed out, say, I am stressed. I'm really stressed. And then we want to add to that, I am stressed. Why am I stressed? I am stressed because, oh, this happened. Yes. And that's stressful. I am stressed because of this, and it's stressful. Very, very powerful for the mind and body. So then the second step is to name the feeling, name the feel and the feeling that is happening. So if you can name it, you can tame it. And if you can feel it, you can heal it. So when you name that feeling, either physically, emotionally, I feel sad. I feel sad about this. I feel mad or angry, or my shoulders are tight. I can feel it in my heart or my stomach, or, I have a headache, whatever it is, just name it. It's so very important to name that feeling, and just to be aware of that. Awareness is key. And then the second part of the second step is to lay your hand wherever you're feeling the pain. So if it's in your heart, or if you have a headache, or your shoulders hurt, wherever it is, just go ahead and put your hand where you need to, and just say, ouch. This hurts. This is really painful. This stress has been really hard on me. And just allow yourself to be in that moment. Oftentimes we'll say, I'm sad, but I can't feel sad. I'm not, I just need to keep moving forward. You know what? If you're sad, be sad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to have feelings. It really is. And it's okay to take care of yourself when you're having those feelings. So this is one way, is to just lay a loving touch on your heart or wherever you need to, and just be in that moment and feel what you're feeling. So, ouch, this hurts. So then the third thing is to really bring in that common humanity, and know that you're not alone. There are several million people in the world, and we're all human. So bringing in that common humanity is so very important. So when you're thinking about you're stressed, I'm stressed because this happened, and it really makes me sad, and it really hurts. Of course, anyone who's going through this would feel the same way. So I'm not alone. I can get through this. So oftentimes when we bring in that common humanity and realize, I'm just a human, oftentimes will allow us to, give yourself a break and just allow yourself to be in that moment. And then the fourth thing is self-care. So when you went through all these steps and you're like, okay, what do I need right now? What I need is, I need to go for a walk. I need to take a shower. I need to punch a pillow. I need to scream into a pillow. I need to talk to someone. So there are many, many different ways to take care of yourself for self-care during these moments. And that's key. Sometimes we stop at, I'm stressed, but I'm just going to kind of shove it away and not deal with it. And that does not get us anywhere. So we need to bring that awareness to ourselves to be able to live our best life and move forward and learn from what our body needs to be able to take better care of ourselves for today and for the future. Okay, so that leads us into the positive side of stress. So once we have that awareness of, I'm stressed, this is going on, then we can recognize the positive side. So we want to welcome that stress by recognizing it's a response to something we really care about. So remember, I used that example of, that person's stressed about that. That's not a big deal, and kind of vice versa. And I'm thinking about, why? Why do I care so much about this? Or why did I have this physical or emotional reaction to that situation or that stimulus? And if we can recognize it, that is something that you really cared about, we can find the positive motivation behind that stress. Why does it matter? Oftentimes, it is something that crossed a boundary of yours that you didn't even realize that you had. And it could be part of your values that was crossed. It could be part of your passion, part of your purpose that was crossed. So it does really matter. And so once we kind of go through all of these steps for awareness, then kind of the next step would be to come up with strong, loving boundaries to protect that response and that stress, so that you can live your best life, and the next time that stressor comes up, you can say, oh, that this is why I'm having this reaction to it, and you can kind of stand up for yourself and for that stress. And then, so when we embrace stress, you can transform fear into courage, isolation into connection, and suffering into meaning. So when we just kind of stuff the stress and all those feelings down, then we're not really living our best life, and we're not caring for ourselves and having that self-compassion that we can, if we really take care of ourselves. And we can really have more courage, we can have more connection, and we can figure out what the purpose is and what our passions are in life. So, and we can continue building on those things. So very powerful and positive. So oftentimes we think of stress as negative, but very, very powerful and very positive. So on that note, can stress be avoided? And so oftentimes, sometimes it can't, and sometimes it can. So I'm going to go through some of the ways that stress can be avoided. And the first one is oftentimes when we are stressed out, we have shortness of breath, and we kind of start to kind of go into like an anxiety, or where we can't catch our breath. And so one of the most important thing is to not escalate that stressor or that anxiety by taking that deep breath. So we want to really focus on our breath. So that's one way. Another way is to avoid stressful situations. So avoiding the drama, right? If you know certain people are very dramatic or situations are very dramatic, can you avoid those stressful situations? And so that's really kind of knowing those strong, loving boundaries that you have, and knowing it's okay to avoid them, no matter what they are. Another thing is writing things down, like I mentioned before. We have a whole topic on resiliency writing and how to do it, and the importance of it. And so, like I had mentioned, pen to paper. Let's say you are trying to sleep and your mind is ruminating about something and you just can't sleep. What I recommend is get up, and no matter how long it takes, and just write down everything on your mind. What will happen is your brain will say, oh, everything is here. I can come back to it whenever I need to. All the details are here. Because what your brain is trying to do is remember all those details, and it's really hard for the brain to remember all those details. So if you can get them all written down, your brain doesn't want to forget anything. But once you have it all down, your brain will say, oh, everything's there. And oftentimes an amazing thing will happen. You can, your brain will go kind of more into a relaxation mode to say, okay, it's all written down, so I can just relax. I would recommend going back and rereading it in a couple of days, or go back and rewrite. So what often will happen is your brain has had time to come up with a solution, which is really a very cool thing. So a solution to maybe things that you can feel empowered to do about that stressful situation. So it's actually a really cool thing. So pen to paper. Another one is time management. So this can be a huge stressor. So I know sometimes I will put things off, and I know my 16-year-old son will put things off. He'll always say, oh, I'll do it later. And then all of a sudden things just start piling up, and like, oh man, if I would have just did this when I thought about it instead of putting it off, I wouldn't feel so stressed now. So that's just a good awareness to kind of take that with you in the future to say, okay, if time management and if time is a real stressor for me, how can I better take care of myself so that isn't a stressor, so that stress can be avoided later down the line. The next one is picture it. Our minds are so very powerful. So if you're having a hard time kind of reacting to stress in a positive way, or if something's coming up and you're really stressed about it, that something bad is going to happen, just go through the motions of guided imagery and just imagine the situation in your head going really well. Just bring yourself through the whole situation. So maybe what you see, what you smell, what you feel, and picture yourself doing really well, whatever that is, or whatever the situation is. Just picture it in your mind's eye as it going positive. So for me, winter driving is really tough. So I'll picture myself, going slow and taking it easy and leaving in plenty of time, and reacting well to things that happen, and so that helps me to prevent that anxiety that can happen when I have to drive in the wintertime. So picturing it, very powerful. And the next one is finishing one task at a time. I know we've often heard of multitasking, and our brains can really not do more than one thing at a time. We are focused on one thing, and then we're focused on another for a time, but we're really only focused on that one thing. So it's recommended finishing that one task at a time. I know yesterday I was going to feed our fish. We have two fish, two betas, and I was going to feed them. So what I do is I unplug the filter so the water isn't there's not a waterfall into the tank. So then I can feed them, and the food will stay on the top. So then the fish can happily eat. So what I did was I walked into the room and I unplugged the filter, and somewhere between unplugging the filter and whatever else I did next, I didn't feed the fish. I don't know what happened. But then at 1 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I woke up and said, oh no, the fish tank is unplugged and the fish didn't get fed. And I was just like, what did I do? What happened there? And so obviously I was not focused on that one task, and I didn't finish it. Luckily, betas are very, very robust. They don't need to be fed a lot, and they'd rather be in more calm water, so they didn't need the filter, and everything was fine. So I was able to get back to bed without getting up and plugging in the filter and feeding the fish at 1 o'clock in the morning. So finishing one step at a time is always a good thing. Taking a physical break, so very important. So and this can be looked at two ways. So if you're busy, doing a lot of different things, and you're up and you're running around, resting, like taking a physical break and resting, is very powerful. Or if you've been sitting at your desk for a long time, maybe on the computer or doing a lot of work, taking a physical break as literally being physical is another way to look at it. So either or, very good to avoid stress that can come with being too busy and running around, or not moving around enough. And then just remembering there's a whole world out there. So oftentimes we will look at, like I'll use watching TV or watching the news too much and getting really stressed out about that. I recommend just turning off the TV, taking a step outside and taking a couple of deep breaths, and then looking at the trees and the snow and the grass and, whatever's out there, and just notice that, right now in my little world, in my little space, I'm okay. Everything is okay. And just remembering that there's more to life than your current situation or the news or what's going on. So it's a good way to deal with that stress and avoid it. Another one is to limit distractions. So working with one thing at a time, limit distraction. And what are those distractions? And, just being aware of those distractions and limit them as much as possible. Talk to coworkers, boss, friends, family, if especially if the relationship is strained. Oftentimes we don't communicate enough, and then that can cause more stress. When we're thinking one way, they're thinking another, and then you come together and figure it out. You'll realize that oftentimes it was just a lack of communication. So, get that communication going. Living a healthy lifestyle. So I mentioned sleep. So sleep is medicine. I think I might have skipped that, getting enough sleep, and that's okay. So sleep is medicine, so very important. Exercise is medicine. Nutrition and food is medicine. Managing your stress is medicine. All of those things are so very important. So making sure that you're getting enough sleep and you're eating well and you're exercising, getting that body to move, that can definitely help you deal with stress. And be silly and laugh. We have a lot of different people throughout our Alina Health system doing a lot of research on happiness and laughter. And so if you can just get away and just laugh. If you have a friend that's really funny, or if you want to just YouTube laughing babies, just be silly and laugh as much as you can. It can be very powerful. And then the last one is, today I'm thankful for. We know that being thankful and having that gratitude is so very, very healthy for our brain. So, I talked about that lower part of our brain and that primitive part. Every single time you do any of these things, you manage your time, you do anything that really helps you manage your own stress, you're building pathways from that lower part of our brain up to your higher part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the part that is all as well. So when we're taking a deep breath and we're in that moment, you're building a pathway. When you're taking care of yourself in the way that best that you need to, you're building a pathway. So it's our empowerment is to be able to build those pathways to that part of our brain that says, okay, all is well right now. I'm okay. Okay, so kind of in conclusion, the steps are to accept the fact that you're stressed. Say, I am stressed. Recognizing what are your stressors? Why are you stressed? What's going on? What are the acute and the chronic ways that you're stressed? And then getting to understand the root and the nature causes of your stress is so very important, because that can help you build your strong, loving boundaries. It can help you better take care of yourself. It can help you move forward, and so all of those things, very important to help you deal and understand and relate to yourself better. Okay, some helpful tips. Be realistic with your expectations, of course. When we expect ourselves to be all and do all, that can be really hard. So we need to be realistic on those. You're only one person. So be realistic with yourself. Always assume positive intent. This is very important. So if you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, just know that they didn't wake up in the morning intending to cut you off. Maybe something happened, maybe they're in a hurry, maybe a loved one is in the hospital, something like that. Just like you didn't wake up in the morning saying, oh, when I get on the road, I'm going to cut everyone off. So I'm trying to assume positive intent in any situation. Let go of control. I talked about this a few times. When we feel like we need to be in control of everything, that's, a lot of stress can build up. So we can't control hardly anything in our life. So when only control those things that you can. Accept change and be very flexible. That's a good one, because things are always changing, and when we can kind of turn on a dime at the moment and take care of ourselves during that time, we'll be able to deal with stress that much better. Learning to say no, and knowing that no is a complete sentence. You don't even have to explain. No is no. So once we start to kind of take care of ourselves and know what we can do and be realistic with our expectations, then it's okay. It's okay to say no. Accept the fact that we all make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has ever been perfect, and nobody will ever be perfect. So let go of that. Mistakes are kind of where it's at, where we learn a lot more from failure than successes. And So there's a lot of positive in that. And then look at the big picture and put things in perspective. So powerful. When we put things into perspective, we can kind of bring in that common humanity and also look at situations in other people's point of view and know that, oh, maybe things aren't as bad. And then appreciate small things in life and just smile. We know that when we smile, we can really kind of change our brain chemistry and just how we're feeling. But we also want to make sure that we're able to feel what we're feeling. Okay, so before we get into this awareness experiment, what I want to do is go through, are there any questions that anyone has regarding this presentation? I'm just going to check the chat. So people were just going over some of the things that related to the yeses and nos. But are there any questions? I think you can unmute yourself if you would like. And it's okay if you don't have any questions. And I'll be staying on the line when we're all done here to answer any questions that you might have. So before we get into that awareness experiment, I will be sending out a follow-up email with some resources, some more things for you to check out as it relates to managing your stress. Feel free to visit changeandchill.org. And we have a lot of different stress management tools on there, or feel free to email us at changeandchill@alina.com. And I will be adding that to the email I send to everyone. Okay, and that information will be in the follow-up email as well. So we have a few more minutes. So what I want you to do is we're going to do this awareness experiment, and you know, if you need to drop off, I invite you to stay with us and do this experiment. But if you need to drop off, feel free to. So what I want you to do is get into a comfortable position. And we are going to, I'm going to lead you through an awareness of the breath and senses, all your senses in your body. An awareness of the breath is a good place to start because it is accessible to us 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's one of our #1 tools. So we're giving your mind something to focus on and cultivate concentration, and the breath is the perfect place. We're going to practice stability and sense of flow. And so we're going to be watching your breath with quite vigilance. So as you're sitting there, sit comfortably with your back upright, but not rigid, fostering a straight spine to feel that stability in the body. We're staying alert and relaxed. So we're going to take a deep breath, bring your shoulders up. And as you exhale, bring your shoulders back and down. Chin in just slightly and just maintain this posture. You can keep your eyes open or closed. And if you keep them open, just rest them on a spot that isn't moving. If you can, put your feet flat on the floor. And just begin breathing, taking in deep breaths in and out. Just notice your breath. Notice what's going on around you and within you. Notice any thoughts, sensations, or emotions that are coming to mind. And if something comes to mind, just notice with non-judgmental observation, just moment to moment. If you notice your mind judging or trying to push away a thought or feeling or sensation, just bring yourself back to the breath and just notice it just notice this happening, no judgment. So we're just being an observer, noticing what is happening as it comes and goes, just being aware of what's happening as it's happening. Now gently move your attention to the breath itself. And breathing is an act we do every day, every moment we're alive. And just notice as you breathe in the expansion of your belly and your chest. And as you exhale, everything kind of contracting in. If we made a little sound with our breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, our breath actually sounds like an ocean wave. So we're kind of in rhythm with the whole universe. Maybe noticing the temperature of the air as it comes into your nose, the temperature of the air as it leaves your body. And on your next breath, just think, become aware of it and notice that you've never taken this breath before. There's no reason to change your breath in any way, just simply observe it. You may notice that in your mind, thoughts are coming and going, or you might grab onto a thought and build a story around it, so much so that it can even elicit a emotional response or a feeling or a sensation in the body. And just be aware of that and notice it. And as we're breathing in and out, and as our time is coming to a close, I want you to continue in this way and just take a few more minutes to just be aware of these thoughts and feelings and sensation, noticing that thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, and sensations come and go. No need to grasp onto them. Just allow that awareness of the inner workings of the mind to just fulfill you in knowing that how your brain works and how your mind works can be very powerful. But you can also feel empowered to know that there's no need to grasp onto any certain thought, feeling, or sensation. But there is a time where you can take care of yourself during those times as well. So if you'd like to continue just being in this moment and focusing on your mind and your breath, feel free. You can leave the meeting if you'd like. Otherwise, I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes and answer any questions that you might have. And thank you so much for joining me.